Honk. What is up, Cobra Kai fans? Welcome back to the channel. My special guest today is Brian Troxell, who played Gavin, one of the new All Valley board members in Cobra Kai Season 4. And Brian was in Hawkeye, who played Catering Captain Gary, another G character.
That's right. Apparently, I just give off that G name vibe for some reason.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, there's got to be more than Gavin and Gary. There's got to be definitely more out there. I mean, I'm not going to be surprised the next role you have, it's a G name, you know?
Well, the next role that I have coming out, which I can't talk about, but it is on a big show based here in Atlanta. My character doesn't have a name, so I'm giving him a G name. Maybe Gareth. It'll be Gareth.
Gareth, we got to complete the combo.
Right.
Brian, thank you for so much for coming on. How's everything on your end with, you know, things going on with the pandemic and all that kind of stuff?
We're sort of settled into it by now. I mean, I caught COVID pretty early on, like September of 2020. Right. So once I caught it, as you know, a lot of that the fear and stuff sort of, you know, went on the back burner. It's like, you know, all right, I know what it is. But other than that, you know, it's just you settle into it and you just sort of get used to, you know, all the precautions and wearing your masks and doing all that stuff. But trying to get back to as much of living my life as I can without being stupid about it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, like once you've had it, you understand it, and it's obviously just one of those things. Like it's so new to everybody, so you're like you don't know how to really prepare for it. But like I'm glad you're okay. That's first thing.
Oh my, thank you.
And second of all, just yeah, I'm very glad. You know, productions like Cobra Kai weren't delayed because of COVID, because you know we have this issue with many productions. So many things are halted. Still, movies are getting halted, pushed back like several times. It's horrible to see, but yeah, how did it feel being back on set though when things kind of were allowing you to get back to work?
It was actually I had an interesting I think the very last thing I did before COVID was shut down was a quick scene in Genius Aretha Franklin with Malcolm Barrett and Cynthia Erivo. And so COVID shut everything down for like 9 months. And then when it started ramping up, they had rewritten my scene. Right. So the first thing I filmed right after I had COVID, as a matter of fact, in October of 2000, was the redo of that scene. So it was the same production with the same people and the same wardrobe and the same everything, only everything was different. Like right. You couldn't just go to craft services and stuff your face with fruit snacks and gummy bears and Skittles like I like to do. You know, everything has to be, you know, gloved and hand and masked and everybody staying apart. So it was weird. It was weird getting that exact difference between the same production before and after. And then with Hawkeye and then Cobra Kai, you sort of get used to it. You know, you make sure you wear your face shields and you know, chairs are 6 feet apart. And then by the time November came around with the show that I did then, it was kind of like, everybody's wearing masks, but you know, the chairs are all the same. And it wasn't, you know, people just getting used to it.
Right. Yeah. It was just, would you say those experiences you had on, you know, especially with Hawkeye and Cobra Kai, that it made you really cherished every moment because of the whole situation with COVID and how it just affected the film and TV industry?
Oh, sure. And never got used to getting swabs up my nose because you had to get a negative test every 48 hours before you could be on set. So, you know, if you're on set for a week, that's 3 times.
It's horrible.
But I think the first time where the impact really hit me was my second stint on Hawkeye when we were doing episode 6 with the big scene in 30 Rock. It wasn't there, but you know, and then they had all these. This was the first big set piece that I was involved in with all these extras. You know, they had like 80 background folks playing all the party goers.
Wow.
Everybody's masked up and okay, everybody masks off. And I were to take their masks off and then they shoot the scene. All right, mask back on, everybody. But other than that, I mean, it got more normal, more close to normal a lot quicker than I thought it was going to. And I don't know how much of that is just, you know, studios needing to make sure they get things filmed or not. But yeah, it's just sort of settled into a new routine. It's not that much of a hassle anymore, I don't think.
Right. So prior to Cobra Kai, prior to Hawkeye,
Mhm.
what made you realize that you really wanted to become an actor and be a part of this? Or
Well, I sort of took a left turn because I didn't take any. I wasn't an actor when I was a kid. I didn't. My degree's in computer science. Actually, I have a computer science degree from Georgia Tech, and I wrote software for a while, and then I was about to turn 40. This is going to give away how old I am in about 2009. And I just had always wanted to do voice work, voice stuff. So I took some voiceover lessons and started doing some audiobooks. And one of my voice teachers was like, you should do some on-camera lessons. And I was like, you gotta learn lines and hit marks and blah, 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 blah. So I did. And then, I fell in with a sketch comedy group called Sketchworks Comedy. And I started doing live shows with them. And it just like got an agent. And then it was like, let's try this. And if people tell me I suck at it, I'll stop and go back to writing software. And if people don't, then we'll just see how far it goes. And nobody told me, people told me I suck, but not so many people to get me to stop doing it. That's always it was just like a midlife weird left turn. It was one of those things where like I would rather try it and fail than to look back later on and go, I wish I would have done that.
right.
So that's really what it came down to.
So pretty much just this is something that you said about voice acting, but this is pretty much a spontaneous move that just turned out to be what it is now, which is pretty cool when you think about that.
I'm shocked every day when I'm auditioning or booking gigs, to be on those two. I booked 3 shows. I booked 4 shows last year. So it wasn't. But I had to drop out of one of them. But the other 3 was a Marvel show and Cobra Kai, and then there's a third one coming. It's like, all right, I'll take those. If you're going to book only 3 shows in a year, 3 pretty darn good shows to book.
Yeah, definitely. Like with Cobra Kai, obviously it's been one of the best shows around at the moment. And when did you first discover Cobra Kai? Like, was it when it was on Netflix or when it was on YouTube?
Because my sister was a huge fan of the movies when we were kids. So I'm obviously familiar with the movies, but with the show, obviously I got auditions for the first couple of seasons, and it was on YouTube Red. But it's like I don't have YouTube Red. I'm not going to pay for YouTube Red. I don't.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch the show, and then it wasn't until it got on Netflix, and I think I had some. I think it was on season 3 was the first one that was on Netflix, right? So it was right when that came out, and that was at the beginning of last year, I believe. And it wasn't too long after that I booked this role. I think it was in February that I booked Gavin, and I was like, oh, I better catch up on this show because it hadn't been available on Netflix very long. It's like I should sort of know what's going on before I say. So then I sort of binge watched the first 3 seasons of that. So I watched them all right before I filmed season 4.
Right. Like that's definitely important because you just want to be fully kind of understand what's going on within the series, and then you realize
know the world and the tone and all that. And I enjoyed it from the first episode.
For sure. When you first saw so your character Gavin is part of the All Valley board. So when you were watching season 1 and you saw, Cara, Daryl, Kurt, and all the others, and you knew you were going to work with them, how did you feel about that? Because seeing how that dynamic works with the board and Matt as well. Can't forget Matt, of course.
Yeah, you can't forget Matt. Otherwise, he'll complain about being forgotten. No, no, it was weird because I think as Matt and Kara both said, it's like they were. I mean, I watched the scene and they were all like bureaucrats, but they didn't have the real background like that. The character issue, the character moments that they all showed in season 4 is very stayed, but I enjoyed, and I enjoyed watching them, and of course I watched and studied them before I hopped on set. I was going somewhere with that, and I've now completely forgotten where I was going with that. But yeah, it's like everything. It's like you don't know until you're there on a set as a day player, especially, or as a recurring somebody hopping into a show that's already been around, and especially hopping into a show as a new member of a group of established characters. You never know how everybody's going to be until you're there on the day. And fortunately, I got lucky working with Matt and Keith and Kurt and Kara. They were wonderful. The times we weren't on set, we would just hang out in front of our trailers and just talk all the time about everything. And they were so friendly. And I know they've all alluded to as we've since then we've hung out together, and we stay in touch. And as I said, Sketchworks, we do a little fake news show every week, and last week was our 100th episode, and all 4 of them, we did these fake congratulations, and all 4 of them sent something to me to put in the show. So it's like they made it very friendly from day one, and we're still good friends to this day. So that really made the whole, being the new guy on the set much easier.
Right. Yeah. Like that's definitely something you probably hope for on every production, anything you book, like that you have that, that really fun environment to be in, to kind of thrive under and just really enjoy. Like you don't want to feel like so opposed to it, because this almost defeats the point of why you're there, right? Like,
yeah, and then it's like, a lot of these established shows have been running for years and years and years. They all have their own routine. They all work together. They all know each other, and now here you are. They don't know what they're going to get out of you. You don't know what you're going to get out of them, and it's it just adds a little bit of extra stress. And then to just be put at ease from moment one just makes the whole process more fun.
Yeah, for sure. Like Gavin came in the season 4 episode 6, and it was that really funny scene where we see the board members kind of bickering about what they need to change, how they evolve the tournament. And Gavin brings a very good point about how the tournament might be encouraging that boys are hitting girls is like, it's okay. And it's hilarious how you guys go about that, and just it obviously creates the girls division, because a lot of fans were kind of unsure how the tournament was going to be in season 4, how it's going to go about. I've asked Cara and Matt this, but I really want to know what you think. If you could create a rule that we haven't seen or something different about the tournament, what would you like to change about it or add to it?
Ooh, that's a good question. I really liked the changes they made to it this time around, because if it's just one bracket, you necessarily can only have 2 or 4 people at the end, and this really opened up the chance for all the supporting characters to shine in some role.
Right.
Guys, girls, skills, even if the folks who aren't traditionally good karate fighters really blew it up in the skills. Right. So I think any changes to the tournament, I'd like to see more along those lines, more things for people to do, and for more roles, more getting more people involved in them.
Right. I like the idea of the kumite, the katas, the weapons display, the skills. I absolutely love that, because that's something they do in actual karate tournaments, which is really nice. So it felt very realistic in that sense.
Sorry, my cat. He likes to get his camera time. So
hello, I love
him wandering back and forth.
That's amazing. Oh, that's great. Yeah, so I'm sure your cat would approve of that rule. I mean,
yeah, he's been hoping for a cat division of karate.
Cats versus dogs.
Yes.
Imagine that. That'd be that film, Cats versus Dogs. That'd be honestly funny just to see them fight with the cats even being referees and the dogs being judges. That would be really funny. There's a lot of interesting things about this tournament, like just that, but then also all the things with seeing Carrie Underwood and just the how did you feel about that? I mean, obviously I've heard that the name was not the same on the call sheet and it was different, but having a surprise like that, how did that feel?
It was a fun surprise, because I know Matt alluded, and I think it was John Hurwitz who came up the day before and said, "Hey, just so you know, it's actually Carrie Underwood." So we didn't know going into our block of filming of the scene of that week, but we knew the day before that it was going to be Carrie Underwood. In fact, I think she was hosting some awards show in Nashville the night before, and she got in her bus and drove down to Atlanta. Well, she didn't drive; she was driven down to Atlanta for the filming on that Monday, I believe. But no, it was amazing. We all snuck in there, and I've got pictures of the monitors of when she was singing and Matt being out there introducing her. It was great, and she was so wonderful. She stuck around after she did her bits, and she stuck around literally as long as anybody wanted to talk to her and get pictures taken with her. She was just there and just being. And I don't get starstruck, but I do tend to say stupid things to just anybody. And so when I was talking to her, getting my picture with her afterwards, and I introduced who I was, and I said, thanks for agreeing to be on our little show. And she goes, little show, it's actually quite popular. Yeah, I guess it is. Foot inserted in mouth. Not say something stupid. But no, she was great. That day was great. And I love what they did in the show itself. They turned her song into that montage, that tournament montage, which I thought was brilliant. And it did take me about 2 weeks to get Moment of Truth out of my head, because it just stuck there after listening to her sing it 23 times that day.
Yeah, that was definitely something I wasn't expecting within the show, just to have like a guest, like a singing guest, especially in the tournament. It was really cool. It was nice to see that Kerry's such a big fan as well. It wasn't just, oh, let's bring a well-known singer. It was, she was a big fan, and it just happened to be she'd obviously done all these things.
Right.
It was nice to see like they really took on board. She was really passionate of the show, because with shows, I know they like to sometimes bring in guests, good marketing, etc. But with Cobra Kai, I felt like she's a fan. She really adores the show and the Karate Kid. So that felt very refreshing.
Yeah, we were actually the five of us. We were setting up to film one of our scenes. I think it was either this episode 9 or episode 10. We were all up on the balcony while they were setting up cameras, and she was literally down there on the tournament floor with Ralph and Billy and John and Josh and Hayden and everybody. We're getting their pictures taken, and they were talking. So I have a lot of behind the scenes pictures of other people getting their pictures taken. Very
You're like the secret photographer. Like, anybody want any photos? I got it.
Yeah. Because we're just up there on the balcony just waiting for them to get all the lighting and stuff, right? And everybody's like, oh my God, Carrie Underwood.
Right. I heard that you guys were you supposed to be like judges in the tournament originally because of COVID? Like, they kind of changed this. You were subject to just being on that balcony, or always?
There was a scene that we didn't film. It was just a quick, I don't think anybody had any lines, but there was a scene where we were all down there on the floor reacting to something. Something happened, and we all just make this. Oh, it was when they take their shirts off part.
Oh, Robby and Eli.
There was supposed to be a reaction of us on the sideline going, "Is this getting out of hand?" We never filmed this. So I mean, I think we were supposed to be down there at some point, but they cut that little reaction scene.
Right. Speaking of scenes that got cut, I have heard there was a scene in, I think it was episode 6, where, well, I don't know if it was episode 6, but correct me if I'm wrong. But Gavin got fired in what scene?
In episode 10. Now we filmed this part of Cobra Kai about a month after my second stint on Hawkeye, and I had more stuff to do on Hawkeye that they ended up cutting and not filming because they just ran long, and Haley Steinfeld had a drop dead date. But there was so I was kind of in a down mood coming off of that, having all these other scenes that I was supposed to do that I didn't get the chance to film. And so this scene in episode 10 was supposed to take place at the end of the tournament, and originally I didn't have any lines. I think it was, as Matt said, it's like, hey, George is like, another good tournament. Yeah, this is great. Blah 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 blah. And I think Hayden came by and said, we got new pages. So we all look at them. We're all standing in front of our trailers, and I say, oh, hey, I have lines. Now this is great. So we start reading them, and we're all sitting there silently reading them. And all of a sudden, Keith goes, oh man, sorry, Trox, because I'd gotten written out of another show.
Oh.
Yeah, that scene is like basically I complained about how much Carrie Underwood costs, and everybody was like, you know what, you're not working out, Gavin.
I find that quite ironic, because I remember the scene which relates to Hawkeye. Like, Gavin gets fired in Cobra Kai, but Kate Bishop, Haley Steinfeld's character, goes to Gary going, I quit, I'm done. Yeah. I just find that funny. The two scenes are very similar in the sense.
Yes. Yeah, they were, I mean, that's kind of the guy that I get. I mean, that's my type. I'm either, as I said, I'm either an idiot in a suit or I'm a jerk in a suit. Those are mainly, anytime I can get an audition where I can just wear a hoodie or something is like one, and not have to shave and not have to put on a suit. It's amazing. But no, most of them are like stick up their butt types like Gary, or sort of annoying idiots like Gavin.
Oh,
It was funny. They didn't put this in the very beginning of episode 6 in that cold open. That scene went a little longer, and there were some scripted moments that were longer. And at the very beginning, when Ron's doing his intro,
yeah.
talking about how Daniel LaRusso can't be on the board anymore because he's now a sensei and he's no longer independent. So we're going to introduce you our new member of the board. And the way they filmed it was this dramatic sweeping shot and everybody moving out of the way, and they build this up expecting it to be like some famous guest star, and then no, it's just me, some doofus you've never heard of before, which I thought was kind of funny. They ended up cutting that out of the episode, but I just thought that was amusing that they were building it up to be, oh, who's going to be the replacement character? No, it's just some nobody.
Oh, that's a shame we didn't get to see that, because it would have been interesting to just see more of the All Valley board. I mean, saying this to Kara, just if you could have like a mini sort of side story with the All Valley board, like a sitcom, and just see how you guys operate, how Gavin comes in and just seeing how chaotic these guys can be, just trying to run like the All Valley board. It would just be hilarious. Them just going like, what have I got myself into? I thought this would be straightforward, self-explanatory, but no, it really isn't.
Yeah, I know Kara and Matt said we talked about having our own show. Any moment we could talk about having our own show with those characters, because they're just so much fun to play. And it was actually kind of not disappointing, but I had to be the new guy coming in and just being blown away by all the idiocy surrounding me. So I couldn't. There was one. We were doing one take, we're just improvising stuff, and I'm just doing this. I'm joining in the idiocy, and then they were like, "Oh wait, no, I'm the voice of reason here. I can't be the idiot. Everybody else is an idiot. I'm the voice of reason." So I didn't go too far with that.
Right, yeah, you're like the new guy. You're trying to assess everyone and just kind of who is who, and that's definitely something I'd like to see in the future. With Cobra Kai, what was something you would say you took away from being on set and just being part of that production?
Getting to work with such good actors. I mean, everybody in that room was great, and has their own skill set, and was fun to be around and fun to play with. Having the showrunners be there while we were filming was amazing. That's a luxury you don't get on any other show. I think John was off when we were doing that day. I think John was off doing another scene for another episode, and so we had Hayden and Josh were there, but they were there with us, and they were giving like notes at the end of each take. Hey, why don't you try this? Hey, let's do this. Let's do this, and then just let him play. Let's follow Gavin this time. Let's do this. And it was just having the showrunners there is an amazing luxury, and them being so awesome in and of themselves, because if you can do something that jostles something in their heads, like, oh, it would be nice if we did this, and so that was a great takeaway. Is like having showrunners who are so involved in the day-to-day, being there on set every day for even scenes that really has not much to do with the main character. It's just us, our little group of idiots in a conference.
Yeah, they're really humble, and that's what I love about these guys, because like you say, they're not your typical showrunners or creators. They're basically fans of the Karate Kid making all this happen, and just I love the interaction they have. They really appreciate everybody they're working with, and just the people that love the show, like myself, the fans, anybody that's a follower. I just love what they do with it, and of course, we can all just have to give them big thanks. Just the testament to their writing and the way they come together to create the show and not ruin something so great. Because we have this problem with, especially 80s franchises, a lot of them are getting ruined, and this is one they definitely haven't. So it's really refreshing.
And I think this show is such an amazing point, and they've done such a good job that it's almost transcended the nostalgia. You could watch this show not having seen any of the Karate Kid movie, not having any idea what had gone before, not knowing any of the nostalgia, not having seen any of that, and it's still a good show. It's still a well-written show. It's still a great show. So it's almost transcended, that whole nostalgia thing that a lot of these 80s reboots are based on.
Exactly. Like, that's a great point, because when you watch the show, I feel that a new viewer wouldn't be like, oh, I'm missing out, I didn't watch the original films. They just feel more invested to go and see those films and kind of go, oh, okay. And it's kind of a nice refresher because you see this situation with Johnny and Daniel. Like, new viewers watching Johnny are going to be like, oh, he bullied Daniel in the original film. Okay, that's interesting. I want to see how that went. It, like you said, the generational aspect of the show is phenomenal. How a young kid could be watching it with, someone that grew up through the 80s, and, loads of different generations can benefit from the show. Okay, so if you could be in any dojo, if they were in real life, which one would you like to see yourself in?
Well, Eagle Fang would certainly be the most fun, wouldn't it?
I think with Johnny, probably have
get to jump from building to building, Matrix style.
I'm just trying to imagine that. I'm trying to imagine, just as a sensei, telling your student, okay, go and jump from this building to building, and your fear will go. Trust me.
Yeah. There's a mattress down there. You'll be fine.
I just love how robust like Johnny can be. Just like he doesn't understand certain things. He's very very quick in the way he thinks, like, and certain. Just that's it. You got to do what I say,
and nothing else matters. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about it. If you don't fall, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
just make the jump, and you're good.
It's the example he also gives Sam. Like, I'm not telling you to jump from a building to nothing or jumping off a bridge. It's like, Johnny, there's you gotta understand what we're saying there. But the humor is a great aspect of the show, which also brings me to Hawkeye. I mean, with Marvel, these MCU shows, they do really deliver on the humor aspect in some ways. I mean, Hawkeye had some funny moments. Kate Bishop's a very comedic character, and then we see your character Gary coming through that. Run me through what it was like when you first got to set and you got to work with someone like Haley Steinfeld for your scene in the first episode.
Talking about the humor on Hawkeye, in Cobra Kai, we all got the whole script for the episodes we were in. On Hawkeye, we just got the sides that we were filming on the day. So I didn't get full scripts. I just got, all right, well, we're doing this today. So, but knowing the pedigree of Rhys Thomas, who directed 3 of the episodes, he was basically Lorne Michaels' right-hand man at Saturday Night Live for years and years and years. Bert and Bertie, the other directors, big background in humor. And reading the sides on the day, there's a lot of comedy in there. And I was just like, wow. I mean, like, this is a legitimately funny show. And I think a lot of that came across as well. But on the day filming, it's a Marvel show. It's a big machine. So I literally, the first time I talked to Haley was right when we were setting up our shot. So she had her own area backstage, her own tent, which, she's a star. She gets all that. So but it was great. Everybody on the show was great. I said I don't get starstruck very often, but getting to work with, I didn't work with him. I got to be on set with Tony Dalton. Better Call Saul is my favorite show, and he's one of my favorite characters. And just getting to be around him was kind of like, we had one of the scenes in episode 6. He and I had a later call time than the rest of us. So we both got there at like 11 o'clock at night. It was an overnight shoot.
Right.
I had just come from the COVID test trailer, and I was walking around another trailer, and it was one of those moments where it's like he was walking around the trailer and I was walking around the trailer, and I was like, one of those surprise moments, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Lalo Salamanca. I just like, it was just like one of those like where you just in a character, and you one of your characters from your show, and just like one of those blow your mind moments as an actor. I was like, oh, hi Tony, hi Brian, and that was it. But just like, it's just a lot of it was everybody on that, everybody on both of those shows were amazing to work with.
Right, and I love the little interaction that your character Gary has with Kate. It is really funny, and like you said, the comedy is seen in this show, and they balance it really well with the seriousness of what's going on with Ronin and all that kind of stuff, and the tracksuits, and then just going forward with the reveal of Kingpin, which is huge.
Which I didn't. I had no idea that was coming. No idea.
How did you? What was your first reaction when you saw that?
Well, the first setup, the teaser at the end of whatever, I think episode 3 or whatever it was kind of like, well, they're just setting it up for the Echo show, because there was no mention even of anything. We didn't get the full scripts, so but none of the scenes that I was in or was supposed to be in had any even hint of any Kingpin. So I was as surprised as anybody else when he was such a big part of episode 6. Because all I known about was the party scene and the tracksuits coming in, and then the big fight on the ice rink afterwards. Those were the only bits of episode 6 that I was aware of, because I was supposed to be in that. That was the thing, is like I got for episode 1. I was also supposed to be the first time Kate shows up in the Ronin suit is to rescue me under a pile of rubble after they break into the auction room. And it's like one of those things where you see her feet come down right in front of me, and she pulls me to safety. And we never got to film that because they ran so long. And I was kind of like, well, this is really disappointing, because that would have been cool. The first time that the superhero shows up in the costume, and that's great. And in episode 6, I was supposed to be part of the big fight on the ice rink where Kate Bishop saves me again, and I get mad. And I get mad at her. It's like, what? Stop. And she's like, what would you do without me? I maybe cater normal events, and I stomp off and I almost get killed again. So, but we never filmed that because we never filmed the first setup in episode 1 where she rescued me. So that didn't make any sense, and they were running behind again. So those were 2 really nice scenes that we never even got to film. So it's one thing to film them and then have them get cut, because at least you had the experience of filming them. But so
right, yeah.
So it was a little disappointing coming off of that. It was just like, man, this could have been my first time in a Marvel show, and half my scenes get cut without being filmed. So I was actually worried that they wouldn't keep in what they did. And I'm actually glad they kept in the other littles, even though didn't really mean much in the end. I'm glad they kept them in, because that first scene with Gary apparently blew up on TikTok, which I was on. I had to get TikTok because everybody's making TikToks of that Gary scene. I was like, okay, have at it.
Yeah, that's great. Like, I guess you never know the impact with the character you play, no matter how big or small they are, because I mean, obviously, if it's a bigger character like someone like Clint, people are really expecting a lot. But these little characters that come through, like, you never know, like TikTok, you would have never known that would have happened.
Yeah, no idea.
So do you kind of hope when you play roles, you do get those just as much as you can, like impact them in such a way that even if it's like a little memory they make out of it, like they get that experience?
Yeah, and in fact, even the little bit of that first Gary scene where I go, oh, wait, you can't quit. Hold on, that was a little improv bit that I threw in there, and it turned out because we played it on the day. We played it three different ways. The first way was, the way I auditioned, he was just like an angry, what are you doing down here? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then we did another bit. Reese Thomas was like, okay, now do it where you're not mad when you walk in. You're just like, why is she here? And then you realize she's not really working for you. So we did it that way. And then he goes, now you're the dumbest person on the planet. I was like, okay, that's the fun. And that wasn't the one that got in. It was the first one. But still, just being able to play it around different ways. And you never know. And that was the surprise. I didn't know what they were going to keep. I didn't know what we did. I tried to throw in some extra stuff. And he actually let us play one time where we did like a whole thing, who told Gary? That's me. Yes, that's you. Yes, that's me. I know that. So we did a lot of stuff, and we didn't know what was going to be in there. But yeah, you try to, make it your own. Make it, whatever it is. If people like it, great. If people don't, great. But you try to just make it more of a, even if it's just like you're there for one scene. Well, you want to make it come across that Gary's like a real person, and this is what he's like, and he's not just some guy who is just there to serve, set up a line and then move on. You want to give him some sort of life.
Yeah,
I mean, he does have a life,
right? And it seems very stressful as well from his perspective, trying to like make sure where everyone is, and especially where he's working. It's very luxury.
Yeah, it's these are very rich people who've hired him, and he knows he's working for this is not an event that's on the up and up.
Exactly.
An underground auction of dinosaur skulls and other things for crying out loud.
Selling a Ronin sword, some Avengers stuff, the watch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so much you wouldn't normally see, and then all of a sudden there's a raid. It's like, okay, this is welcome to the Marvel universe.
Yep.
But yeah, like Hawkeye, like is a character that's probably been so underrated in the grand scheme of things in the Marvel universe. So I'm guessing you were a fan of Marvel before you got into Hawkeye, or was it kind of re-explored it once you'd been in Hawkeye?
I was a very, very, very heavy comics reader when I was in college and in my 20s, so late 80s throughout the 90s. And I'm ashamed to say I was a DC guy. Batman.
Well, DC is good, but you know,
I mean, I was familiar
with
with both, but I basically stocked up on all the DC was my jam back then. However, I did keep up with when they revamped Hawkeye with the Matt Fraction era. I thought that was really well done, and I think the show. Part of the reason why Hawkeye gets sort of a short shrift in the movies is because there's all this big stuff going on, and he's a guy. And I think they did a great job in the show with it being, no super powered villains. There's no
very grounded,
very, street level. Nobody's got powers. Everybody's, people, they have special things, but they're not super.
Yeah.
Not a lot of super strength. It's it's almost like a buddy comedy, a buddy cop comedy.
Yeah,
very grounded show, and I thought that's where the Hawkeye character really shines, is when it's not all this extra stuff going on. He's not like traveling the multiverse and being on other planets and things like that, because it's not part of his bag of tricks.
Right. Yeah. I love the fact though we get to see more of his gimmicks. Like the different types of arrows he uses. I love the Hank Pym particle or Pym technology when he shoots that. Oh, that was amazing.
They really embraced that, and bringing in Lucky the Pizza Dog was great. I did meet Jolt, who was the main Lucky the Pizza Dog, and Jolt was a fun critter. Yeah, but embracing all the weirdness of the Hawkeye comic, but treating it seriously, not treating it like it was a joke.
Right, yeah, because I felt like the show is really trying to give justice to this character, because kind of people consider him a joke in the sense of, like, look at this guy with an arrow in a universe where you have Chitauri aliens fighting you and all this kind of stuff, but he held his own against them. So, I think I love the Ronin stuff, so obviously we got to see an Endgame and a little bit more in the Hawkeye series. So who's your favorite Marvel character? I know you said you're more of a DC guy when you were reading the comics, but if it was Marvel.
My favorite Marvel character. Oh gosh. It would obviously be Gary, the catering captain. No,
your secret powers.
I was not, I guess they've done, it's now been so long, and every character has been like 18. It's same way on the DC side. They change everybody every 3 years. So it's almost like which version of which character is your favorite. I mean, you can, that's the other thing that I think I liked DC better for, is I've always thought they had a better rogues gallery than on the Marvel side. So I kind of liked more of the villains than the heroes on both sides.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not gonna make it. I don't want to piss off anybody. I don't want to annoy any fans of any other superhero by picking one half-heartedly.
The thing with DC, like, I like what they tried, but I just think they don't listen enough to their fans. Like Marvel really do, and they're delivering. I just want DC to kind of understand that, but I am really looking forward to the new Batman. That's definitely going to be something.
Yeah, DC's definitely been way behind on the film and TV side. The TV side's getting better, because I mean, stuff like Doom Patrol, where they embrace the silliness, and a lot of those shows. They're trying to catch up, but yeah, Marvel's obviously been far and away better on the screen versions of their comics than DC has, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I just want them to sort of get in that similar level. I mean, there's definitely some big films coming out. You got Flashpoint, where they're bringing back characters from films from so many years ago, which I'm looking forward to. And even though I'm definitely more of the Marvel guy, I definitely appreciate DC. So who's your favorite DC character? Because I know you're more DC.
I had every Batman, all the Batmans. from back in the day. I think there were six monthly Batman comics, I think, at one point after the first movie came out. So yeah, he was my main one. Also, my favorite comic from back then, which they eventually turned into a show that ended up pretty good, was Preacher by Garth Ennis that AMC did a few years back, and did an as good an adaptation of Preacher the comic as anybody was ever going to do. And Garth Ennis also had a character in the mainstream DC universe called Hitman, which was basically a comedy series making fun of all the other DC heroes, which I quite enjoyed. I thought Garth Ennis was still is a good comics writer. But yeah, Batman first and foremost, but Preacher on the Vertigo side.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Batman. Him. I think for me, it's probably Batman or Superman. I just love love what the character brings, and just these. Even like the guys like Nightwing and Robin, those characters are very interesting.
Yeah, the extended family as well.
Right. Like Titans goes into a lot of that, which is really cool. I mean, I still need to catch up on it, but yeah, I mean, if you could play any sort of superhero role without, based on what you look like, all that kind of stuff, just like literally for fun, who would you like to play?
You could almost say like the Batman Beyond Batman, the old, bitter, cranky, doesn't put the suit on anymore. Batman would be awesome to play. I mean, obviously with my type, I would be more like the Commissioner Gordon type, the supporting character who may be a little crankier than he needs to be. But yeah, cranky old Batman. If I had to play like a superhero, that's who I would want to play.
So if you could, before we round this off, if you could have one superpower or skill from any of those characters in the DC universe, doesn't even need to be Batman, it could be anybody else. Like, what kind of power would you like?
That's an interesting one. This if you don't think about it too much, the speed would be nice because you could travel very quickly. But then if you start going into like, well, wouldn't all the air molecules burn your face off and a bird hits you and your
oh my god, yeah,
explodes,
yeah.
But something like that as far as a practical superhero skill, yeah, it's like I'd like to get places faster. So I'd go with the speed. I don't want to do a lot of manual labor. I don't want to do a lot of lifting. I don't need the strength or anything like that.
I mean, I would like to have some sort of flight, or speed is definitely something cool, but I think flying would be cool. Just the idea of that. But I mean, do you prefer the grounded kind of hero, or do you really prefer the cosmic scale level?
I like them. I like them both. I mean, a good story is a good story. It's just when like we talked about with Hawkeye, and when you try and mix the two, it's the same thing. Batman in the Justice League. Why is Batman? Batman's got Wonder Woman's got to carry him when they're flying, or he's got to have like a jet or something. He shouldn't be. Batman shouldn't be going to other planets. He shouldn't be. He shouldn't be doing the same things that the Green Lantern Corps is doing. So when you try and mix them, you just have to just pretend that Batman should be here. He got here somehow. A lot of hand waving.
Yeah, I like the groundedness of Batman. I don't like it if he's like overly techie, or they're trying to show he's more of like I know Tony Stark is very similar in that sense with the money and the tech and the smarts, but Bruce Wayne really is about the combat. When it's Batman, that's why he thrives, and obviously the things he has to stop, like Joker. But Brian, thank you so much for coming on. It's been really cool geeking out with you.
Thanks for having me. This was great.
For sure. And talking about Cobra Kai and Hawkeye has been a pleasure. Where can people find you if they want to check you out?
I do have a bare bones website up at briantroxell.com. You can check out our comedy, our sketch comedy group at sketchworkscomedy.com. And I'm on all the socials, the Instagrams and the Twitters as Troxbirds, TROXBIRD.
Love that name. I have to say that.
I wish there was a great story behind it, but there isn't. I mean, my last name is Troxell, so I was called Trox forever. And then, everybody took the username Trox. I'm like, what else am I going to do? I didn't know it was going to become a thing. I would have put more thought into it.
Yeah. Well, maybe you could change it at some point, but I mean, Troxbirds works. It's great.
At this point, it's sort of a thing.
Maybe Trox Speed. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah, you go.
Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe if you're new. Thank you for everybody's time in the stream, and I'll see you guys next time on the channel.